And we're back to another Patreon exclusive gear talk, gear demonstration, educational thing. So a little backstory for this whole test, and we're mainly looking at the Zeiss Digiprime. This is the 14 millimeter, and after crop factor, it figures to 35 millimeter. It's a T1.6 lens, and essentially I just wanted to show the difference between, what you get if you elect to go into the ENG format that we've recently been talking about on the radio show. Just the differences that you'll get between a standard, high quality, standard definition, ENG zoom and a lens made for cinema. And backstory behind why I even have basically the statistics for this is it was shot on a Sony F900. Both lenses were put at an f2. And again, both about 35 millimeters. There's little differences here and there because, there's not an exact marking on the lens for 14 or 35 on the ENG one. So bear with me on that. So those color temperature is 3200. Color temperature is set on 3200. It has light ND. I can't remember. ND isn't super important for this. Yeah, that's about it. 2 tungstens and a fluorescent in the back. So there's a 650 that's ran through some silk to the screen left, and screen right. We have a 1K tungsten, not even pointed at the little puppet guy. It's just pointed at some background stuff, the Squirtle and the 2 boxes of cards. Okay, so let's get into it. So right now we're on the standard definition lens, and this is on an HD camera, Sony F900. So it's on an HD camera. This is a standard definition lens. So the more quality standard definition lenses, they can resolve 1080p. They're capable of it. And let's say if you're out in the field, let's say if you have to do a lot of quick run and gun shooting, a high quality ENG lens, when you set up properly, I didn't set this one up too properly. I was sort of so excited and in a rush to use the Digiprime that I didn't really pay super close attention to the sort of minor vignetting we have on the thing. That can be fixed through, adjusting the back, calibrating it properly, adjusting the back focus, things like that. Sorry. So, here it is, and you're looking at it. The image doesn't look bad. I mean, again, part of the reason is it was, I put thought into blocking it. I put thought into, how I set up the lighting and stuff like that. And that's, don't completely disregard gear with what I'm about to say, but the reality is you can make most lens and camera combinations look good if your blocking is in check and you know how to light. And you understand it, and you set up the background properly, and you're making sure that your set has depth and all those things. You can pretty much get a good look out of anything. But again, the lenses are just that extra step. Lenses will make it easier to get you there. So this is the SD ENG zoom, and we're gonna flip now to the Zeiss Digiprime at a T2. So immediately you can see. If we go back to that one, the SD one, immediately you can see it's very, very green. And that's something big with the higher quality lenses. The colors are usually going to be more honest. The colors are going to, and who knows if this standard definition lens is old, who knows, but it's just, there is way more green in that. And it's like, yeah, it's something you can channel out in DaVinci Resolve. You just change the tint to a little more magenta. But it's just, from what I've seen, it's better if you just have it as natural as possible on the first go around. Because, if you start throwing all these filters on, things start getting a little messy and you have a less honest, the signal is just, it gets a little too contrived. Your workflow gets too contrived, and it gets to a point where you feel like what you're doing, what you're producing is like too filter-esque, and it's not enough just you doing the composition. And so I personally try to get, a nice look to jump off from in camera. So yeah, so standard definition, back to the HD. So if we flip between the two of these, the thing you can immediately tell is from a shape perspective, how all the things sort of resolve and come out through the multiple layers of glass in the lens. There's like this sort of thinning, more honest shape quality with the Zeiss Digiprime. So we go back to the standard definition. It looks a little wider. And then the Zeiss Digiprime, it's sort of, it gets tightened up. It gets compressed a little bit. And, that's good, because this theory of the camera adds 10 pounds. Hey, Zeiss Digiprime, the higher end glass that's at least $4,000 a prime, that's going to get you there. Now, I speak in terms of that for things made for Super 35 formats and higher. The Zeiss Digiprimes, the history behind these were released around the same time as the Sony F900, maybe 2000 or 2001. And they were exclusively made for the 2/3 inch format sensor. So very, very tiny little sensor that was used in early digital cameras like the F900. And so they were trying to essentially... Zeiss, I don't know if it was George Lucas who was encouraging it or Robert Rodriguez who was encouraging it, or maybe there was some digital company, maybe Sony was in the pockets of Zeiss, but these lenses were essentially made to get a great enough image quality to show people, hey, digital video, hey, this can compete with film. Hey, man, this is it. And so this lens was one of the big stepping standpoints of that progress. Now, they built these lenses with an amazing amount of quality. However, they only cover, those tiny sensors. You can't put this on a Super 35 camera. You can't put this on a DSLR without some amount of adapting and so on and so forth. So, let's get down to this. The quality of glass, I've been told by multiple people that the sheer quality of the glass in terms of, how it reads out images, sharpness, all that, it's between Zeiss Ultra Primes and Zeiss Master Primes. Zeiss Ultra Prime is $11,000 a lens. Zeiss Master Prime is maybe about $20,000, $25,000 a lens. And so when the Digiprimes first came out, it was about $20,000 to $25,000 per lens. So just holding one lens, that was like, $24,000. Who knows? I bought mine for $1,000 because we've sort of, technologically in digital cinema, we've moved past the smaller sensors. We've moved past the smaller formats. Now we're on the big, now we're mostly on Super 35, but now we want 16:9 full frame sensors on, I think the Arri Alexa 65 does that. The Red Weapon 8K does that. I think the 8K does that. Anyway, it's not important. Let's get back to the lenses. But yeah, so those are the two huge things you're going to notice. Is it's a little bit colder. It's a little bit colder on the Digiprime, and going back to the standard definition, it's a little what's the word for it? Again, it's a little warmer. Also, like I said before, greener. There's a slimming quality that you get with this glass, and also, if you just zoom in and look at the image, it's just sharper. It's way, way sharper. And, it's sharp. It's high quality glass is sharp in a special way where it doesn't seem artificial. It doesn't seem, anything more than the human eye would do, because it's all being done in optics. It's not being done through a sharpening filter. For instance, with a lot of Sony products, Sony TV, Sony cameras, they always sort of come pre-installed with this extra sharpening feature. And it looks artificial. It looks very video. But with these Digiprimes, this is a way to be working with top end glass without top end price. I can't afford a Zeiss Ultra Prime. I can. That's just the reality. Nobody can really afford a Zeiss Ultra Prime unless they're working on a feature film or a big commercial or something like that. So it's just I bring these lenses up as something to consider. If you choose to, how would I put it? If you're to choose to, want to mess around with some stuff. If you get a standard definition camera, for whatever reason, you can slap these things on, your image is going to be competing with, you know, the newest 1080p DSLR. Now, it might not be competing with like something like a Sony F3. It might not compete with stuff like that. But, you know, $1,000 for the lens, maybe under $300 for the camera body, and you got a 16:9 stretch in there. That's not something to play around with. You know, 480p is, again, we put a little too much weight into 480p resolution. Or sorry, we put a little too much weight into the 2 dimensions of resolution, and we don't look into the 3rd dimension of what's the actual quality of this image we have. It's like, okay, this is the little shape, this is the little window that we're able to see through. But when we look out that window, are we seeing a New York City skyline, or are we seeing a dumpster? You know, that's sort of the mindset you got to put yourself in when looking at stuff and when buying equipment and seeing, oh, what's right for me? What if I'm a filmmaker? What do I want to, you know, put out there? Another thing to check out here with these lenses is focus breathing. Now, it's not a fair comparison because we're comparing market-wise, we're comparing a $200 lens to a $1,000 lens. But it's important to note, and also a zoom lens versus a prime lens, but it's important to notice, look at the standard definition lens. So we're focusing to the back there. We have, I'm really sorry that my tripod was like so bad. My tripod can't horizontally lock. Because I just bought one that could handle the weight of a Red 1. I should probably just sell this tripod eventually. But, you know, so we see it, there's so much focus breathing. There's tons and tons of focus breathing. As we focus back to Squirtle and 2 boxes of Christina Aguilera trading cards and some dice and a nice little fluorescent light back there. We go over to the Zeiss Digiprime. There is... You know, and it's a combination of just the format and everything, but there is no focus breathing. That little movement that you see, that's just the tripod being bad. There is no focus breathing on this lens. And again, that's something, that's quality. That's what quality looks like. Where it literally looks like the human eye. It's literally the human eye looking at something else. That's how good these lenses are. And it's just incredible that you can get these for $1,000 a pop now. Keep in mind, a big part of this is the format is so small that we're not really able to achieve this awesome bokeh, like with a Super 35 sensor. Like I'll attach the pics of the CP2 and the red zoom lens, and you'll see those are only at like a 2.8, and they have way more bokeh than this. And these lenses are set at a 2. And again, it's just there's a crop factor of, I believe, 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 on these 2/3 sensors. And so this is sort of giving you all this depth of field. And if you're looking for a cinematic thing, you might not want that. You know, there's workarounds for it, I'm sure. But it's you know, just in terms of composition. But that's something to accept if you're doing these 2/3 stuff. Is you know, you might lose depth of field, but you get all these. You're able to get, you know, 5-digit glass. You're able to get 5-digit glass for only $1,000, and you're able to just slap it on your camera, and you're able to get that sharpness out of it. You're able to get that color response out of it. You know, you're able to get that brightness, that speed, all of that. Let me know if you have any questions about these lenses. I hope to shoot something. I have a job coming up in September where I'm shooting something for a geology company. But what's it called? I'll try to shoot a short with these maybe this month. To give a better thing, and I might shoot them on. Or no, I'll shoot them on the F900. I don't feel like dealing with bullshit right now. Okay, but yeah, no, that's all there is to it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have questions. I'll see you all later.